The car, truck, and SUV challenge is going strong at Lamoille Valley Chevy. Folks, Dan is right. Earlier this year, we have challenged our teams to sell and order over 700 vehicles by the end of April, and with 588 so far, we still have work to do. Until the end of April, with a purchase, lease, or order of any new or pre-owned vehicle at Lamoille Valley Chevy, you'll leave with a $500 fuel card today. You heard that right. Even if you have to wait for your ordered new Chevy, you get a $500 fuel card today. You can choose between a home heating fuel card or a gas card to be used at the pump. Plus, we want you to know that as the largest Chevy truck dealer in Vermont, we are prioritizing all of our special orders to get you your new Chevy as fast as possible. In the meantime, $500 of your fuel cost is on Lamoille Valley Chevy. You'll find one of the best selections of new and certified pre-owned Chevys, plus many clean late model Toyotas, Hondas, and Subarus ready for immediate delivery, and all of them include a $500 fuel card. So drive just past Stowe and Morrisville to the beautiful town of Hyde Park, Vermont, and the car, truck, and SUV challenge happening now at Lamoille Valley Chevy.
Those families in the central Vermont area are needed to house the players of your Vermont Mountaineers. If you have space in your home, please consider becoming a host. All players are fully vaccinated and boosted. Players will have their own transportation, and dinner is provided on game nights. What's in it for you? How about free season tickets and free baseball camps for kids or grandkids? If interested, email host families at thevermontmountaineers.com.
Go, 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 Mountaineers. Go.
At Northfield Savings Bank, we celebrate the ways you work and why you work. To build a business, to make a brighter future, to do something that matters. You don't do just one thing in your business. Neither do we. Whatever your size, you have goals for yourself and those around you. Our commitment is helping you get there. Builders, makers, doers. Northfield Savings Bank. Find out more about us at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
The Patriots are now closer to the bottom of the AFC than the top. That's a fact.
The stories that matter to you.
Trevor Story, man, he makes the Red Sox much, much better in 2022.
This is your home for New England sports.
I'm just wondering what happens next for UVA, because I think there could be a lot of turnover on that roster.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Friday right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Short show today, just 40 minutes. We go up until 6:10, and then it's Red Sox baseball. Sox and Rays kicking off a series at Tropicana Field. We'll have the lineup for you at about 6:05 as we get you ready for that one. Big news for the Red Sox. Garrett Whitlock is going to start tomorrow, so that's interesting. So Whitlock will start tomorrow, and the team that'll be game 2 of the series against the Rays. After this series, the team will go to Canada. There'll be Tanner Houck-less in that series because of Houck not being vaccinated. Don't know who else won't be making the trip, but we know that there are others. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026, your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. We will check in with Jason Churchill of Prospect Insider in about 15 minutes, a great baseball follow on social media. He's also the host of the Baseball Things podcast. So let's waste no time, everybody, and let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts of the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Not here for a long time today, just here for a good time. So I want to get to a couple of different things on the Patriots quick before Jason Churchill stops by. New Pats wide receiver Devontae Parker confirmed yesterday in his first meeting with Patriots media that it was his desire to be traded to New England, right? He was with Miami. They get Tyreek Hill. He wants out. He confirmed yesterday New England is where he wanted to be.
That was true. And I would say because I know the Patriots have a great organization. And the fans here are just outstanding, and I know from experience coming in here, how the fans were, and it's just something I want to be a part of. They're having been a Patriots fan, for their whole lifetime, season tickets and everything, and it's something I'm just looking forward to.
That's interesting. It goes to show you that everybody is different. We have seen a lot of guys this offseason that didn't want to go to New England. And every player in the league is motivated by something different. We always say that. I've said that forever. Everybody is motivated by something different. Some people are motivated solely by dollars. Some people are motivated solely by championship aspirations. For some, it's something else, right? Location. They want to be close to home. They want to be close to family. It's always like something motivates everybody. I really wonder why Parker wanted specifically to come to New England. He mentions the fans. He mentions the environment. I'm sure that's a nice part of being in New England, but I don't think that's like nobody is choosing to go to someplace specifically because of the fans. Like it had to be rooted in something else. And as I think about it, why Devontae Parker wanted to land in Foxborough, I think it had to be rooted in opportunity. Parker sees what we all see, doesn't he? He sees the Patriots are light at receiver. He sees they're light certainly on big play wide receivers. He sees they're light on deep threats. And I think he thinks that he can be that guy. So while he's going to mention the fans there and all that, and that's great, I think the real reason that Devontae Parker wanted to be in New England is that it was the best team that also had a role that he's confident he can fill and that he wants to play. Right? Like, it's not just about being the best team, right? If he didn't go to the Rams, he didn't want to go to the Chiefs. They got guys who can play his position that where he would get phased out. So it's not just about a ring. It's also not just about being the number one target. He could have gone to Jacksonville. He could have gone to Detroit. So he wanted the middle ground. What is the best possible team also that has the opportunity for me to do what I want to do? And that's the New England Patriots. I think the reason he wanted to be here specifically is that it's rooted in opportunity. Okay? He didn't say, I want to come here because we can win a title. He didn't say that. I think it's pretty clear to me. He wanted to be in New England because it's a good enough team that he'll be around the playoffs, and the season will be interesting from that regard, but also not so good at receiver that he won't have chances. To me, it's rooted in opportunity. And I don't care what motivates a guy. Okay, Nate Solder wanted to stay in the Northeast when he left the Patriots because his child was undergoing medical treatment. He needed to stay near his doctors. That motivated him. Tyreek Hill was motivated solely by money. That's fine. They've got, when the Patriots got Chris Long at defensive end, he was motivated solely by championships. Everybody's motivated by something different. I think Devontae Parker is motivated by opportunity on a good team. And I'm fine with that. I do also think that he sees a good opportunity to play against the Dolphins twice a year. Revenge is a powerful motivator. And when you think you've been forgotten or you think you've been pushed aside or you think you've been passed over and you are angry, you really do want to get back at the people that wronged you. I got to think there's a double-edged sword here for Devontae Parker. He gets a chance to play for that good team that has that opportunity, but he also gets to play now against a team that neglected him and moved off of him. I think it works in concert. I think opportunity and role are number one, but when you realize, like, okay, I can get that and I can play against my old team twice a year, okay, now I'm sold. That's where I want to go. Like, he didn't go to Buffalo. Buffalo is better than New England. Why did he not choose Buffalo? Buffalo's closer to winning a title. Buffalo's better. Buffalo also would allow him the chance to play against Miami twice. Buffalo's already got guys. They've got Stephon Diggs. I'm not needed as much there. He didn't choose to go to the Jets. The Jets would have opportunity for him. He'd get to play the Dolphins twice a year there too. They're not very good. So I want the middle ground. Good enough, but not so good that I'm going to get phased out. I think that's absolutely why he wanted to be in New England. And the revenge is a nice extra cherry on top. Parker also spoke about what it's like to work out with Mac Jones and play alongside of him.
The workouts are great. And then my impressions of Mac, he got a nice arm on him, zipping it. And, it was just a great workout, for all of us. Just it's just good for me to come down and, start throwing with them early, as soon as I can, get the timing down. And it was a good workout. Mac's a good quarterback. He just the way he throws the ball, it's not like tough. It's not tough. He throws a catchable ball that you can be able to catch me and whoever else. And it's something that, I'm looking forward to.
Oh, look, those are nice comments by Parker on Mac Jones. The two have already worked out. Parker was in Florida with Mac and with a bunch of other guys that were there. Nice comments, largely what I expected. You don't ever expect anyone to come into a new situation and rip the quarterback. So while it is nice to hear him say complimentary things, it doesn't do a whole lot for me because I expect it. Like, that's exactly what you would expect to hear. I guess if you're asking me to pick out a part of that comment that I do like, well, I like that he thinks that Mac has some zip on the ball, because one of the biggest downsides we've heard of Mac Jones is that he doesn't have a great arm. So if Parker is noticing a little zip, then that's always good to know. But look, it's the off season. Everybody's fresh. There's no bad weather. There's no pass rush. Like, it's going to be different today than what happens in December. But I know that Mac Jones is a hard worker. So if he's gained even a little bit of velocity, a little bit of arm strength heading into this season, then that's a good thing. I like Mac Jones. I'm rooting for Mac Jones. I know everybody thinks that I don't. I know everybody thinks that I'm rooting for the kid to fail. I'm not. I think Mac Jones is good. I don't think Mac Jones is special. I think you need to be special in this AFC to win a Super Bowl. That is my thought. I would love to be proven wrong. I hope that this year Devontae Parker is right and Mac Jones has some oomph on his arm that wasn't there last year. I hope that Mac Jones is able to overcome things next year that he was not able to overcome this past year. And I hope that Mac Jones makes me eat my words and the Patriots go 13-4 and get the top seed and they win the Super Bowl. I hope that happens. Now, again, Parker's comments don't make me feel any differently. They don't make me feel any differently one way or the other, though. I just expect the guys on the team in the offseason to be excited about what they've got. I mean, I think that's pretty standard operating procedure. So I hope that Mac's arm has gotten a lot better. I doubt that it has. It's hard to make that kind of gain. But Parker seems to like him, and that can only be a good thing. Ralph in New York says, playing for any NFL team would be an honor. Parker sounds inspired. Okay, well, Parker did not want to play for the Dolphins. I would imagine the Dolphins also wanted to get rid of him. I do not think that this was just Devontae Parker was a malcontent. So, but there was no like, oh, let me restructure my deal to stay here kind of thing. And Devontae Parker didn't say, I want to go to the Lions. He didn't say, I want to go to the Jaguars. Didn't say, I want to go to the Browns. He said, I want to go to New England. Because I think New England met all of his desires. Play against the team that just ditched me. Also give me an opportunity to do the things that I want to do. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Frank says we need a quarterback that can execute Bill's plan. I think Mac Jones can execute Bill's plan. I mean, I think, get first downs and not turn the ball over. I think Mac Jones can do that. I just don't think that that's the way to play right now in the modern NFL. Because if you have to go 10 yards here, 10 yards there, 10 yards there, 10 yards there, eventually what happens? Eventually you turn it over. Eventually, you've got a 10-play drive that results in a field goal attempt, and then the other team goes down and puts up 7 quick because they've got guys that can go 75 yards in one shot, and you don't. That's what the Patriots have had. We'll see when the draft comes next week if they get guys that are more explosive as we've been calling for. All right, Red Sox baseball is coming up here. Our coverage begins in about 25 minutes from now at about 6:10. So we are counting down to Red Sox Rays in Game 1. I want to go out to the phone line now and bring on Jason Churchill. Jason Churchill is a baseball insider over at Prospect Insider. He's also the host of the Baseball Things podcast, and he's a great follow on baseball social media, Twitter especially. That's where I see a lot of Jason's work. Jason, thanks for being with us. How are you?
Hey, good to be with you. I'm good. Hanging out here in the Seattle area on the West Coast and watching from afar a very crowded American League East. Just like literally just like we all expected.
Certainly is a crowded AL East. Expected to be a great race that'll come down to the wire. This is a story that we've been talking about all week here. I want your opinion on it. Red Sox got to the ALCS last year. Do you think they did enough this offseason to go, quote, all in on trying to get back there and beyond this year? Or do you think they left some moves on the table?
I think a club like Boston in a market like that, I think the same thing about the rival Yankees. I don't think you can ever get to a point where you're in March or April and think, what an amazing offseason. They did absolutely everything they could to put themselves in the best. I just don't think that exists for franchises like that. I think the Dodgers are also there. The last couple of years, I think ever since the Mookie Betts situation and the trade sending him out of town, the Red Sox have operated a little bit differently than they had the previous 15 years or so. And they're not necessarily acting like, one of those premium markets that they truly are. So, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing things and making moves. I think they're trying to be smarter. I think they're trying to do things from within a little bit more. And I think the Yankees are trying to do the same thing. So to answer your question, no. I thought they needed more starting pitching. They took a couple of shots. Guys like James Paxton, should be able to help at some point. But I thought there were deals out there that they could have made. Now, again, player interest is something fans don't necessarily take, and some media don't really take into consideration. Some people do not want to play in San Diego, or they do not want to play in the Northeast, or they don't want to play out West, or whatever it is. They don't want to play in the middle of the country. They want to stay in a time zone they're comfortable with, or closer to home, or whatever it is. So player interest is big, but throwing that aside, why isn't Marcus Stroman, in Boston? Why,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like I thought they needed a couple of 2-3 type starting pitchers, like 2 of them, maybe even 3, to kind of fill that out. And that way the Tanner Houcks of the world are bonuses when they blossom and they turn into, everything you hope they are. And then all of a sudden you have a World Series rotation instead of one that's, trying to edge their way into the postseason. It's just not what I'm used to seeing, over the years, a Boston Red Sox organization, at least the last 20, 25 years. That's just not normal for them. And we've seen that the last 2-3 years. And I understand the Chris Sale situation, but they lose Eduardo Rodriguez, to Detroit, and really didn't replace him, I don't think. And I thought they needed to add to even what they had a year ago, especially considering we go into seasons now with Chris Sale knowing that he's a Cy Young type pitcher, but is he going to be healthy again for 30-plus starts ever the rest of his career, especially the rest of his contract? So, no, I think the answer to your question is no. I don't think they did enough. Having said that, there's obviously a ton of talent there. You look at guys like Alex Verdugo could explode into, perennial all-star at any point. And obviously Bogarts and Devers and folks like that are kind of carrying the lineup, and they're everybody's as good as advertised. But, adding Trevor Story was nice. I think that's a ballpark that fits him, but I just think on the pitching side, they came up short, certainly.
I really like Chaim Bloom. I think he's got a great methodology for the future. I think trying to build a sustainable pipeline, and I think he'll spend big when the time calls for it, like the Dodgers have done. I think that's what he's trying to replicate. But that said, build for the future all you want, but you've also got to recognize that there is a now also, and that's where I do think, to your point, the Red Sox have come up short, but it does show you just how fine a line it is between trying to build for the future and trying to compete all at once.
It is. And if you're the Red Sox, for me, where I sit, if I'm Bloom in the situation, I'm thinking ahead as well. I'm thinking about, all right, what am I actually going to get out of Chris Sale? And what are the odds I only get 10 starts out of him, or 20 or 25 or none? to be honest with you. And what's my situation beyond that in my starting rotation? What am I going to do at shortstop? Now, I think the Story situation, signing Story to the long-term deal at least covers their bases if Bogaerts ends up leaving. Obviously, ideally,
does it cover their bases or does it push Bogaerts out the door?
No, I think it covers. I don't think it pushes out the door because Story's playing second base right now, and he's obviously shown some level of willingness to play second base. Now, whether there was some sort of wink handshake agreement that you're going to be our shortstop in 2023, I don't know. And if that's the case, it does change the equation a little bit. But if you're Bogaerts and they offer you the money you're looking for, aren't you staying? Like, that's where you've played your career, you've thrived there. But so I think they've covered their tracks a little bit. If they end up losing Bogaerts, at least at the position, they'll obviously have to go out and add offense at that point. But when you look at that rotation again, like, aren't we talking about the last year of Nathan Eovaldi's deal?
Yeah.
So that rotation, for 2023 is relying on not only how to develop, but maybe somebody else to come from the system and develop. And some of these 1-year guys to turn into more than 1-year options, Paxton, Rich Hill, Michael Wacha, whoever it might be. And to go year to year like that, if you're the Boston Red Sox and you're trying to keep up with the Rays and the Blue Jays trending, and obviously the Yankees are there every year, and who knows what's going on with the Orioles over the next 3 or 4 years. But if you're trying to keep up and like stay ahead of in that division, I don't think you can have a pitching offseason like the Red Sox just had. I just don't think that's acceptable at all. That what the Red Sox did over the winter with their rotation is something that the Orioles should have been doing this winter. It's something that the Tigers should have been doing this winter. Something the Royals should have been doing this winter. Something the Diamondbacks and the Rockies should have been doing this winter. Playing the 1 year, not necessarily bargain bin, but not committing long term, not taking care of things, not getting the high probability, returns that, and that's why I mentioned Marcus Stroman. I think, you're going to get 25 plus starts out of him. He's going to be at least a mid rotation guy moving forward. Why isn't that guy in a Boston Red Sox uniform right now? Let alone taking the risk on the Carlos Rodons and guys like that, not that Max Scherzer shouldn't have been in their plans as well. Again, player interest does play into this, but I just don't think they were aggressive enough in acquiring. And we're just talking about free agency. We can talk about trade as well. There were guys out there that can be had on the trade market too. There's still one in Oakland. Why isn't Frankie Montas in a Red Sox uniform right now?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I thought this goes back to my early offseason plan, but I thought they should have flipped Bobby Dahlbeck to Oakland and tried to get Manaea or Bassett, or flipped him in some deal to the Reds. And there would have been other things you would have had to do to cover up for Dahlbeck's absence, but I would have been all in on something like that, or trading Jarren Duran as part of a package to go and get some pitching as well. We're on the Brady Farkas show here on this Friday. We're talking with Jason Churchill, prospect insider in the Baseball Things podcast here as we count down towards Red Sox and Rays. I think that the market is getting smarter, and I think Bloom's presence in the market, he's also smart. It's pretty clear they're not going to give a 30-year-old a 10-year, $300 million contract in Boston anymore. When it comes to Devers, 25 years old, on the cusp of, I think, MVP-type numbers, does he get a blank check from you, or is there a limit to what you would do for him as well?
See, this is where I go to my development staff, my coaching staff, my infield coaches, my infield gurus throughout my organization, and ask them, how long is this guy sticking at third base? How long is this guy playable at third base before he becomes, Pablo Sandoval late in his career? He's a bigger guy. He's not great now. Catches everything he gets to, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, that's kind of who he is. Ultimately, in 3, 4, 5 years, you might have to move him across the diamond, or even, I don't want to say you have to DH him. It's not like he doesn't have good feet, and he can certainly throw, but I don't want to give him, the top of the market third base money, knowing that in 4, 5, 6 years on at the tail end of a 7, 8, 9 year deal, he's a first baseman. I think that's what I'm worried about. And I don't think it's a really good bat, and it's a really good player, and he might be top 5, top 8 MVP votes, as early as this year. And he's really good. I think he comes up short. This reminds me of a conversation I had years ago with some folks up here in Seattle about the difference between a really good player and a great player, and a difference between a really good hitter and a great hitter. And the best comp that I got was JD Drew is really, really good. Manny Ramirez is great. JD Drew will hit bad pitching most of the time and good pitching occasionally. Manny Ramirez will hit everybody all of the time. And I don't think Devers is Manny Ramirez or even anywhere near that. And nobody's saying he is, but that's the difference for me. And when it comes to these 8+ year deals, I'm not on board with just handing those guys, that blank check, so to speak, $30+ million a year for 8 years, especially when I don't know where they're going to be playing. Would you give that to a first baseman? Would you give $250 million to any first baseman in baseball, age 26 to 35? I wouldn't.
The thing is I look at it, Devers is younger, healthier, and I think better than Corey Seager. The only difference in my mind is that Corey Seager plays a more premium position and is likely going to be able to stick there. So that plays to your point about defense. Seager gets 10 for $325. I think just based on the market alone, Devers is going to have to approach and probably beat Seager. Do you not see it that way?
Yeah, I don't. And I do think in terms of value, there's an enormous difference between being a playable third baseman and a playable shortstop. So even though you're right, there's the reason right there. There's the reason. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't have given Corey Seager 10 and $325 either. Maybe if I'm Boston, I would have, because maybe he puts me over the top offensively and I can move Devers to first now and I'd still do the Story thing and, my lineup is stacked now. But I wouldn't have given Seager 10 and $325. I think in a vacuum, 8 and $260 is probably about as far as I would have gone for Corey Seager. But when I look at Devers, like we're talking about a bat that when you look at, I use WRC plus quite a bit because it's fairly neutral and environment neutral. Devers isn't there yet to where Corey Seager is. I think the equalizer here is that Devers has been a little healthier than Corey Seager, at least the last 3+ years. He's been a little healthier than Seager, and that's the concern. But if we're assuming both guys are healthy, I'm taking Seager all day. Every day, all day over Devers. Even if we delete the defensive part of it, Seager gets the edge here. And it's close, but it's still clear that it's Seager for me. But Devers is going to get a ton of money. He's going to deserve a ton of money. And he's going to be able to handle third base at least for a little while. It's just how long can he hang on over there? It's not exactly, the best body type. What's he, 6 feet, 245? 25 years old is fine. But when he's 30, what does that look like?
Real quick. How much do you factor in like lineup protection or lack of lineup protection when you're thinking about how much to pay these guys? I would say it's fair to say that JD Martinez being here and Xander Bogaerts being here has helped Devers in terms of getting pitches to hit. JD's in the final year of his deal. Don't know if he's going to be back. And even if he is, he's going to continue to, not be quite as good as he was a few years ago. And Bogaerts might very well be gone. So you're projecting Devers then is the principal part of your lineup as opposed to a just good portion of it. How much does that factor into his future in your mind?
Yeah, quite a bit, especially if you're thinking of him as mostly an offensive player, because that's what he is even now. And that's going to become even more true as he ages. He doesn't give you a ton of value defensively, doesn't give you a ton of value on the bases, certainly, but he's a really good bat. So what is that worth to you? And I think the history, the short history with that front office there is, we're not necessarily going to do this. Are they going to pay both Bogaerts and Devers? Is that the feeling out there? Are both of those guys getting paid, at or near the top of the market? I find that very hard to believe. And
they reportedly offered Bogaerts a 4-year, $90 million contract, which is only 1 year and 30 beyond the deal he already has. So it seems to me like Bogaerts is not going to be here. That's what it feels like.
Right. So offering Xander Bogaerts, who's going to be the top shortstop on the market next year, 4 and $90 is not an offer at all. It's a PR. It's a PR stunt.
Yep.
We offered him a 4-year extension. We've seen that in Seattle here for years. Started way back with A-Rod. We know exactly what that looks like here. 4 and $90 for that guy. I mean, granted, the timing of it, matters quite a bit, but that's not a serious offer. So we'll see where it goes. Do they change their mind? Do they go, 6 and do they give him Marcus Semion's deal? Because that's probably what it's going to take. I don't know. And if they do, and if you give Bogaerts $160 to $180 million, are you then going to turn around and give, Devers something similar? I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a feel for that organization giving anybody, big time, long-term money. So,
Bogaerts and Devers both have Scott Boras as their agents. It feels to me Devers has gotten so close, he's going to want to go to the market and go for 350 plus. That's what it feels like to me. And I think Bogaerts is going to be so offended by what they've just offered him. To your point, it's not an offer. So we'll continue to play out this off-season drama in season as we go. So, Jason, I could do this all day, but we got to get ready for Red Sox baseball as they're taking on the Rays here in a bit. And we will talk to you again down the line. It's the Baseball Things podcast. And Jason, you can follow him on Twitter, Prospect Insider. Jason, be well. We'll talk to you again soon.
You got it, Brady. Thanks.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. Jason Churchill, Prospect Insider. He would take Corey Seager over Rafael Devers every day. I don't see it. Seager plays shortstop, and I get what he's saying. A serviceable shortstop is more valuable than a serviceable third baseman. I just think that Rafael Devers is much, much better than Corey Seager. I mean, I look at Corey Seager, and yes, he's been injured, and he just hasn't become the player that I think we thought he was going to be. He won, I think, an NLCS MVP. Like, he's done great things, but he hasn't done them often enough. I would take Devers over Seager. If you told me you could have one of these two players, I would take Devers. Start a team with one of these two guys, Seager or Devers. I would take Devers in a heartbeat. Absolutely, I would take Devers in a heartbeat. But he did confirm what I said on Bogaerts. 4 for 90 is not an offer. That's a PR stunt. Hey, we made an offer, which is exactly what I said. I said I think that the Red Sox are doing what the Yankees did with Robinson Cano. You make an offer so you can say you made an offer, and then when everybody gets mad that he leaves, you can point to it. We offered him a lot of money. It's the player's fault. Ha! It's not an offer. It is a PR stunt. Full interview will be available on the Brady Farkas Show podcast channel here after the show ends. We'll give you the Red Sox lineups as we get ready for Sox and Rays. That comes up next. And a Celtics note on WDEV, AM and FM.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 90 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dell Small Business.
I'm Stacey Lynn in Washington.
Tell the board right here. Right here, let's go. Right here. Tell the board to come up here. I need...
Witnesses say they heard more than a dozen gunshots in Northwest D.C., near the University of D.C., Van Ness Metro Station, and several embassies. Assistant Police Chief Stuart Emmerman.
We located 3 shooting victims, 2 adults who are in critical but stable condition at our area hospitals, and a third, which was a juvenile who is stable with a minor gunshot wound.
He calls this an active threat situation. No suspect is in custody yet. And
we do not have a motive at this time. We do not know the full details of what took place, but we continue to ask the public to just steer clear of the area.
Again, at least 3 people were shot. That was the closing bell on Wall Street today on a not-so-stellar day for the markets. CBS business reporter Jason Brooks.
The combination of Fed rate hike worries and unimpressive corporate earnings chilled investors as stocks were pummeled for the second consecutive day, with the Dow plunging nearly 1,000 points, its biggest drop since October 2020. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says a 0.5 percentage point rate hike is possible in May, and the market is bracing for similar moves continuing through the rest of the year.
The New York Times out with more shocking recordings from days after the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Republican leader Kevin McCarthy told GOP lawmakers former President Trump does bear some responsibility for the attack and said he thought about urging Trump to resign. So what does this really mean? Political analyst Leonard Steinhorn.
The private McCarthy was essentially conspiring with Liz Cheney, Trump's #1 enemy, on how to get Trump to resign or even to use the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. The public McCarthy is one of Donald Trump's greatest supporters.
It's Earth Day, and in LA, they celebrated with a bridge dedication ceremony to protect animals.
It's being called the world's largest wildlife crossing.
If LA can build a wildlife crossing over one of the busiest freeways in the country, if not the world, we can have nature everywhere.
Beth Pratt with the National Wildlife Foundation is the driving force behind the project. Fraser Schilling is an environmental scientist.
It's critical for trying to protect wildlife before they go extinct, not bemoan the fact that they went extinct.
When the bridge is completed in 2025, mountain lions, coyotes, and deer will be able to safely cross. Steve Futterman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Again, it was a horrible day for the markets, with the Dow closing down 981 points. This is CBS News.
Dell Technologies advisors are here with the right Windows PC and tech solutions so you can stop at nothing for your customers. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL. A start to a simpler experience with Windows 11 Pro.
Spring is here, which means athletes and outdoor enthusiasts are hitting the fields, tracks, and trails in preparation for summer play. Hello, I'm Dr. Kevin McNamara, a podiatrist at Mansfield Orthopedics. As you gear up for outdoor activities, let's not forget about your feet. For more than 30 years, I've been caring for people and their feet. Sometimes the care is an easier fix. Other times, treatment is long-term or may involve surgery. In addition to sports medicine, I care for many common foot ailments, from corns, bunions, and plantar fasciitis, to more serious issues including diabetic foot complications, wounds, and infections. Some of the more common sports injuries I care for include sprains, foot and toe fractures, heel pain, Achilles, and other tendon injuries. For more information on Copley Hospital's foot care program, or to schedule an appointment with me, Dr. McNamara, or my colleagues, call 802-888-8405 or visit mansfieldorthopedics.com/delivery info.
Scientists say a UK patient with a severely weakened immune system had COVID-19 for almost a year and a half. The case underscores the importance of protecting vulnerable people. There's no way to know for sure whether it was the longest lasting infection because not everyone gets tested, but at 505 days, it seems to be a record. For well over a year now, a man from San Francisco has been pushing Taco Bell to bring back his favorite item, which was taken off the menu back in 2015. He wants it so bad, he's vowed to work out every day until they bring it back. And he's been documenting his journey daily on TikTok.
Day one of exercising every day until Taco Bell brings back the grilled stuffed nacho.
So far, no grilled stuffed nacho yet, but he has lost 85 pounds.
Day 412, I ran 5 miles today.
He says this started out as a joke, but then became his daily motivation and accountability to hit the gym. Strange motivation, but hey, whatever works. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show, 5 minutes away from Red Sox baseball. The show brought to you today by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at prodrivercdl.com. Get to the Red Sox lineup about 2 minutes from now. Celtics news and notes as follows. Robert Williams is going to make his first appearance in this series with the Nets. It looks like tomorrow. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN saying that Williams is expected to play limited minutes. He's coming back from that torn meniscus. This would beat that 4 to 6 week timeline they had given him to come back a couple of weeks ago. So limited minutes, and I think that's the right way to go. I'm not for shoehorning guys in when things have been going well. I know the Celtics are better off with Robert Williams, but they are 2-0 with the rotating group of big men in Daniel Tice and Al Horford. So I'm not for just shoehorning Williams in just for the sake of doing it. I'd like to ease him in. I'd like to bring him off the bench. I'd like to get him a couple of minutes. If Tice gets in foul trouble again, he can absolutely be a benefit to this team. I'm for all of that. But I don't need to try to get him to play 26 minutes and start and be the guy he was 3 weeks ago. Let's ease him in slowly. Let's win the series. And then when you go on to round 2, now you can make him a more integral part of what's been going on. But the Celtics are 2-0 in this series without Robert Williams. On the Sixers side, Ben Simmons is not going to play in Game 3. It looks like he will make his debut in Game 4. I don't expect a lot. I told you I had mild trepidation about Simmons If the Sixers or if the Celtics are up 3-0, then I'm not worried at all. If it's 2-1, that mild trepidation is there. He's long and rangy defensively. Offensively, he can handle the ball at least to get it out of Kyrie Irving's hands, and as well as Kevin Durant, and make it a little easier for them. I don't expect a lot from a guy that hasn't played in a year, and also the Celtics defense is making life tough for Durant. How can a guy who hasn't played in a year really excel? I don't think he needs to. So again, defensively is where I have my biggest fear, in quote, of Simmons making any kind of impact. But all in all, I'm not that scared of him. I just think defensively, he might be able to throw a little bit of a different look at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He is a good defender, but again, we have not seen him in nearly a full calendar year. Red Sox baseball is now 2 minutes away. Game 1 of 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays from the Trop. Here we go. The Red Sox are 6-7. The Rays are 7-6. First pitch is 7:10. Your pitching matchup looks like this. Michael Wacha on the mound for the Sox, 0-0 with an 0.96 ERA. Corey Kluber, the former Cleveland Guardian, as well as Ranger and Yankee. I think he might have done a spell for the Angels, although he's hurt. He's with the Rays now, 0-0 with a 1.86. Trevor Story leads off. He's at second base. Rafael Devers bats second and plays third. Xander Bogaerts is the shortstop. Alex Verdugo's in left. He hits cleanup today. Kike Hernandez is in center, dropped down to the order, hitting fifth at just 157. Jackie Bradley Jr. is hitting 229. He's in the sixth spot in right field. Bobby Dahlbeck is at first base. Travis Shaw, the DH, and Christian Vasquez, the catcher. He bats ninth. JD Martinez out with that adductor injury. He is available to pinch hit. Brandon Lau leads off for the Brandon Lau, rather. There's multiple lows on this team. Brandon Lau leads off at second for Tampa. Wander Franco's the shortstop. Randy Arozarena's in left. G-Man Choi is at first. Yandy Diaz at third. Josh Lowe, he's the DH. Manuel Margot is in right. Kevin Kiermaier in center. And Mike Zunino hitting all of 040 with 1 RBI. He is the catcher, and he bats ninth. Alex Cora not with the team in this series after testing positive for COVID yesterday. He says he is feeling better. Garrett Whitlock will start game 2 of this series. That comes up tomorrow. Our coverage tomorrow begins at 5:10. Sunday is 12:10. Red Sox baseball is next. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you on Monday. We'll talk with Ross Tucker, former NFL player on DEV.